I'm Mike.
And my name's Carl, and this is episode 3 of our series regarding heroes and classes. Today we're going to be looking at the Warmonger.
Warmonger.
Exciting! I've not looked at this one previously. I don't know why. I've just never been into the bulkier characters, to be fair myself. And yeah, it's
Yeah,
got a massive orc, as we'll see in a second.
yeah.
But I don't know if have you seen anything regarding the Warmonger before, Mike, or
So
are we going in blind?
no, the opposite to you really is. This is the one that did jump out to me out of the
Oh,
6.
nice.
So I have had a look, and upon looking, it made me even more excited because
Yeah. So you
as
like
we'll
what you
see,
see?
I like what I see. I like in the previous 2 episodes we've already talked about the 3 classes again are something very different, but they bring kind of that unique, different playstyles. And
Yeah.
I think the aesthetic, I do like the idea of playing the big bulky characters. I'm the opposite to yourself.
Yeah.
I like to, maybe I'm compensating, who knows? But yeah, we're going backwards if you remember in this series. So this was actually released on Christmas Day.
What a
And
little Christmas present
what a
there.
gift it was for the community. So like you've already mentioned, the Warmonger is these formidable looking orcs in, looks like kind of power armor. If you look at his shoulders, it looks like there's some kind of venting maybe or something there.
Yeah. Looks like there's a minigun. Is it a big old minigun
Yeah,
there?
big
Is
old
it a drill?
minigun. Yeah, it looks like. And then I'm trying to work out what she's got hold of here. See, just below the text. And I'm not sure if these are the fist weapons that
That
maybe...
looks a bit to me like a chainsaw, possibly like blue little
Yeah, like the
serrated.
blue... Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know when we get to it, there is a Shaman class and that's fist weapons. So in my head, just looking at the way she's gripping it, she's holding it like that.
Yeah.
So that's what I see. But yeah. So the Warmongers, only the strongest of the orcs can become Warmongers.
Oh.
Hardened by innumerable battles, they won't be stopped by any threat. With countless combats under their belt, Warmongers are skilled warriors fearing neither pain nor death. So Pain Reapers, they ain't bothered about them.
Nah, they're not bothered.
They can bring down enemies with suppressive heavy fire or hold the front line with a spear and a shield. And if necessary, Warmongers can summon a forest beast to help them.
Oh, cool. That's class. I'm into
And
summoning characters.
it was upon that line that it sold me out of the 6 classes. So not only was the kind of... So we're seeing a few different things here already. We've seen kind of suppressive heavy fire maybe with the engineer and the turrets. But we've not quite seen kind of maybe a tanky, like a spear and a shield holding the front line. And obviously summoning forest beasts. Something a bit different from a fireball. So... Yes, so we'll, as we did with all the previous episodes, we'll go to the unique thing about them, and then we'll go through the skill sets, and we'll see what we think towards, because you're going in blind, like you say. So it'll be interesting to see what you see now. See some hardy orcs. At the end of the episode, we'll see what kind of where you end up. Maybe you'll hate them even more. Maybe they'll be your class, but we'll see. So we can see here the Legionary is the first of the 3 sub-classes within the Warmonger. So their special abilities are as follows. Each time the Legionary hits a target with an ability, they gain 5 armor and 5 magic resistance for 10 seconds. This effect stacks to 5 times. So 5 base hits... No. Retract that. Target with an ability. So, slightly different. But with the potential of having 25 armor and 25 magic resistance. That's pretty impressive. Like, just having that. You've gone quiet.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking it's right.
I thought I'd shocked you. I thought I'd shocked you. You were just like, that is amazing.
That is amazing. Oh my god.
Oh my
No,
god.
we'll do special abilities again, and I'll come back in. So
Yeah.
any ability. So that's any of the skills that they've got in it.
So any of the
basically.
skills, any of the abilities, it'd be good to get clarification on whether artifact abilities, maybe link into this. But yeah, up to 25 armor and 25 magic resistance for 10 seconds can be a pretty cool little buff.
Let's do. Sorry,
do you want to just start from the beginning?
Yeah, start special abilities again.
Okay, that's fine. So we've got the special abilities here. So each time the Legionary hits a target with an ability, they gain 5 armor and 5 magical resistance for 10 seconds. This stacks up to 5 times. So
that's quite a lot, isn't it?
It is if you get all 5. I mean, it isn't on a hit, it is on a targeted ability. So these are its skills and various other things. But having 25 armor and 25 magic resistance, it kind of leans into what we'll see the Legionary being, which is a bit, like you say, a frontline warrior, a bit of what we'd call a tank spec. They take the damage. This is further then amplified by the fact that 20% of the Legionary's armor and magic resistance is converted into bonus attack power. So the more armor they've got and the more magic resistance they've got, the more attack power they've got. So not only are they more resistant to both magic and physical damage,
hitting harder.
They're hitting harder. So it definitely benefits you to be popping off your abilities and also just getting artifacts that maybe have armor and magic resistant bonuses. And then you can see the final thing, the Legionary deals bonus physical damage. Armor and magic resistance again boost this to effects to targets under the effects of crowd control. So having someone who is maybe popping off the stuns and the sleeps and all that kind of thing, that makes them again do more damage. Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
If you don't know what crowd control is, Mike's done a video. It's up on our channel. It's the 101 regarding sort of crowd control and the lingo surrounding it. So take a look at
go
that.
have a look. There'll be more in those series in the future as well. But it seems to be well received. It's nice that we can. It's good to include people because some people just don't ask the questions and some people don't answer them. So those one-on-ones are pretty cool things. And then like just the final bit there is the damage they do whilst they're under the effect of it is based on your level. And it is only marginal. We see it's... But that's everything, every hit, every damage source. So it soon adds up. Which brings us to the skills. Like we'll just read the blurb here. The tank heroes are fight with a spear and shield. So that's quite cool. They come as a pair. They specialize in controlling the enemies. They can stun, they can slow with their mighty strikes and blows and make them vulnerable to their abilities. Their ultimate ability enables them to easily withstand a lot of damage. The ultimate being the R, which we'll get to. In a second. But first up on the list, we've got the Q skill. The Legionary smashes the enemies in front of them with their shield, dealing physical damage. The strike knocks enemies back and makes them vulnerable. If the ability hits an enemy casting a spell, it is interrupted and goes on cooldown. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a cool image, that, isn't it? Just, boom, into the ground with a shield. Everyone down.
And that's it. And I like the idea of, like we've seen in the Pain Reaper classes, there is a second or two casting. Love the idea of that kind of get back, and it puts it on cooldown. So they don't just get interrupted and recast I think some of them were 12 seconds. So that could be really crucial in a PvP fight and even in a raid fight, I guess, in that respect.
Yeah, PvP, yeah.
Instant cast as well. So you're always if you're on the ball, you're going to beat that cast, and that'll only benefit you. Short range though, but we expect that, I guess, with a tank there at the front, aren't they? So
yeah, they're in the front line, aren't they?
that's it. Yep, kind of damage numbers not too high because obviously it's not implemented as a damage skill.
Yeah,
It's more like, say, it's the control in the battlefield. So I think a well-placed tank queue could probably turn the tide of battles for a lot of people.
definitely.
Next, W skill. So we've got an instant cast again, only 2 meters, reasonable damage numbers, similar mana cost as above, slightly longer cooldown, and we'll see why that is in a second. So the Legionary throws the nearest ally or enemy to a target area. All enemies in that area take physical damage. The tossed enemy also takes damage and stuns all vulnerable enemies within the landing area. The tossed ally doesn't take damage.
That's so cool, isn't it? Just throwing someone.
Now, here's a scenario, okay? Just bear with me on this. So you press your Q and it makes them vulnerable. So you're already getting the benefit that it's going to stun all vulnerable enemies. So you put the Q, hits the things in front of you. Now, rather than getting the enemy in front of you and throwing them, imagine throwing a dwarf.
There we go. There we go.
Because
how far are they going to go?
How far are they going to go? And how sad? I don't know why. As an orc, I just feel like it would be very satisfying to just pick up a berserker, maybe, because they want to be at the front as well, and just go, off you pop, mate.
We've all seen the image in Lord of the Rings when Gimli gets thrown around the corner.
Chucked, yeah, exactly.
Hell's Deep. There we go.
Mate, that's it. We can recreate that.
That's it.
But yeah, so that's a pretty cool thing. And again, it benefits you comboing skills. Because, like, say, if they are vulnerable, they then get stunned.
I've just realised whilst we're doing this as well that there isn't names for these skills. I would have thought there'd be some sort of, like, I don't know, like Shield of Doom. Not that that's the title, but you know.
No, but that's a good point, actually. You've just blown my mind, Carl. Because yeah, they don't have like
no thing, is there?
Yeah, you feel like that would be like Shield Bash.
I'm sure that in one of the videos from the behind the scenes where you see him twirl, and he does. We've talked about this skill, and I can't think what it is, but he twirls in a sort of like blade of death, sort of hurricane,
like
hurricane
of death kind of thing.
Yeah, the whirlwind thing, and it comes up with the title when he's doing it. So
they probably do have.
Maybe they're still working on the titles at this point.
That would make logical sense. Maybe because again, closed beta coming up. Maybe they will implement these skills, realize some of them don't work or maybe need reworking. So maybe they've just not finalized names. Or maybe they'll just see what the community just shouts when they cast it and then go, that is what we'll call it, Whirlwind of Death.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it.
But yeah, so you can see the synergy already just with the first 2 skills. And again, another instant cast. So these guys are very reactionary as opposed to, taking a few seconds. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and then we come to the E skill. Now, this is a casted time, 3 seconds, longer range. You can see the damage numbers, but then you see this little interesting thing here. Damage increased up to 90%. And that'll make sense when we read through it. Light mana cost, 10-second cooldown. So the Legionary readies and throws a spear in a target direction. The throw gains extra range and damage the longer the Legionary spends preparing the launch of the spear. So the longer you hold it, the further it goes, obviously, because you just kind of...
Yeah.
Obviously, the more damage it's then going to do. It deals physical damage.
Throw, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, you're getting all your kind of weight behind it before you launch it off it. So yeah, it does physical damage to all enemies in its path and slows them. If the spear hits a vulnerable enemy, it taunts them, forcing the lead to attack the Legionary for 2 seconds. So, quite an interesting skill. Not only is it a targeted skill, so there's an element of player skill because you want to try and get it in a good arc line because you want to hit as many enemies as you can. And again, if you've got them vulnerable, they have to attack you for 2 seconds, which is interesting. So this is the first time out of the 3 we've seen a taunt mechanic. And again, the 101 explains that. So it just forces them to attack you. You've got no choice.
And you being the tank, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, and which is exactly what you want.
That's what you want, yeah.
It's really cool with having the extra damage. I like the idea that you can just kind of 1, 2, 3 woof and hit him, but holding it a bit longer and getting that 90%, you know, would be cool. And plus, sometimes you'll need to wait because you'll probably might be waiting for them to run across a path, maybe, or you've not quite got your aim.
That's it. I wonder if you'll be able to adjust aim, I'm sure, as you're pulling it back before you let go.
I'd imagine, yeah. So if the way I picture it and imagine it will cast, you'll press your E skill and it'll put where it's going to potentially go. And I guess with your mouse, you should be able to move that until
holding and charging with that one, and then let go. Yeah, of course.
But yeah, a really cool skill. And again, that vulnerable thing of, it's the first time we've really seen vulnerability as well as taunt, which is, it just shows that there's a few mechanics that are obviously can be really exploited. Because it'd be cool to do damage, but getting them to taunt you as well's, I guess, what the Legionary is about, isn't it? So
that's it.
And then it's R skill. The Legionary removes all crowd control effects on themselves. For 5 seconds, they take reduced damage. Gains movement speed and bonus crowd control reduction. Legion restores a portion of their health on an enemy kill or assist. So this is basically, if you're getting, because obviously with taunts, the downside, I guess, to that is you are subject to all the crowd control if that's all they can throw. They can only throw it at you. So you might get the taunts, the stuns, the various other mechanics. So this just gets rid of them. You've got added bonus of if anyone's a cast on you afterwards, the reduction you can see here is reduced by a percentage. Movement speed's always just good to have, isn't it? Very rare you don't want
a bit of extra speed,
a bit of mobility. But the damage reduction is obviously the big one here. Taking less damage is always something we strive for, and getting up to the 70% marker, you could be negating some really big skills there and some real big damage. So that's pretty fantastic. And then again, if you do get a kill or an assist, you get a portion of your health, and that'll be determined on your vitality stat. So the first kind of tank we've seen in the series. This is not what grabbed me about Warmonger, but looking on it and how it works, kind of like, maybe I could be a tank. Cool.
Yeah, I never play a tank. It's not pushing it for me at the moment, but it is interesting. Like I'm excited. I think I'm a bit more excited for the next.
The next one?
Because I saw the name pop up before.
This name here?
The old Commando.
Commando.
Let's go.
So this is
fun, causing havoc.
It does sound really cool. So a ranged hero, so the complete opposite of the Legionary. And like you noticed in the key art at the top, miniguns. So their heavy fire penetrates enemy armor. Their poor mobility and long reload time is balanced with their ability to deal heavy damage within a short period of time. So this is the first kind of class we've seen that isn't increased movement speed. Because we saw a lot of that with the Mercenary. There was a lot of speed buffs, like with the turrets and stuff. So this is the first one that is already acknowledging, it's slower and there's reload times, but there's the potential to maybe wipe out some of your enemies pretty pronto.
It's worth noting as well that they're going to be that when they say slower, it's not slower as in basic speed, because they've already acknowledged that basic speed is level across all characters and classes.
Yeah, that's it. But you will see in some of the spells coming up what they mean by that. So yeah, you are right. Everyone's character's base movement speed will be the same. So now, special abilities. The Commando has no cooldown on abilities.
Right.
What?
What?
What? Just
A mic drop, isn't it? Just bang. I'm out.
However, and of course, there's always a however or a but. They do consume 1 ammo, and a Commando has 4 ammo in stock. So, kind of similar to the sniper mercenary.
Yeah.
But you'll see how it differs ever so slightly, because obviously they're both guns, so there's going to be some similarities. The minigun fires at a fixed rate, so you can't. It's got a set rate, so you couldn't spam. You couldn't go like what to revolve.
Oh right. Yeah,
so it will have there may be just an innate douche 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 douche. And obviously that's probably part of the balance mechanic, because otherwise hitting Q may be just too much.
Yeah, too much damage.
Yeah. So the Commando reloads the minigun upon activating the special ability. Reload time is 4 seconds. Attack speed obviously can just bring that down ever so slightly.
A bit. Yeah.
And we'll see that when we get to the R skill. So here we go. Q. Commando fires a torrent of shots from their minigun in a target direction for 3 seconds. Every half second, all enemies take a physical damage increased by attack power while shooting. The Commando can still move.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's just a 3. It's kind of like so it costs 1 ammo, so it take all 4 of your ammo. 1 ammo, but it just keeps doing shots every half a second. So 6 hits basically. But like you say, it can move, which is an interesting thing. So improvement, which will make sense further down, but a critical strike chance increase of 10%. And obviously, if you do a critical, you do more damage. So that's always a cool thing. But you can see here,
look at that damage. That was some nuts, isn't it?
The numbers get pretty high.
Yeah.
And the range seems pretty reasonable. And like, obviously the cast time's 3 seconds, because that's what it says in there.
Yeah.
So interesting. So yeah, this is kind of its first one. So it's nice. The differentiation between this and the sniper is, whilst it is 4 ammo, it's not 4 shots. It's like an ammo consumes this.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks to me that you've at least got one of each of your skills. You know what I mean?
Essentially,
before reload, and you've got an extra, obviously, because your art is the reload, isn't it? So
exactly. So the W skill is the Commando throws a smoke canister. It deals damage to an area. Enemies have their sight range reduced, and while they're in the range of smoke, their movement speed is reduced. And then the improvement again, which will make sense in a second. All enemies are rooted. So this is kind of the first skill we see that is a reduction on sight. So not quite blindness. But there is a reduction on your fog of war, which obviously can benefit you as casting this smoke, because you could have that sniper laying in the outer rim, and then they obviously can't see them.
Yeah, it seems to me that the Pain Reaper and the Warmonger, you sort of crowd control more heroes that expect that way. So if you've got one in your party, you've got someone who's doing a bit of crowd control, you know. But so it seems to me with these skills.
Yeah, and they said, and it's about control, and obviously in a PvP sense, control's important. If you've got control of the battlefield, you're gonna naturally outperform your enemy. So whilst maybe it's not inherently just doing damage, it is just as important to hinder your enemy, not just be popping them over the head. Yeah, so very short cast time. Obviously, there's a distance to throw the smoke canister. Damage is not high, but again, that's not its purpose. Its purpose is to reduce sight, movement speed, and being rooted, which is immobile, so you just can't move if you've got the improvement. So E. The Commando fires a piercing shell in a target direction, hitting all enemies in its path. Enemies take physical damage and armor reduction debuff for 5 seconds. This effect stacks up to 3 times. And the improvement is critical damage power increased by 50%. Enemies are knocked back and get the maximum amount of armor reduction stacks. So obviously where it says 3 times there, if you've got the improvement, it just goes straight to the 3 stack, basically.
Yeah.
Again, short cast time and cost of 1 ammo. So this is the first time we see a kind of a proper debuff.
Yeah.
So that is the enemy has less health, less armor, sorry, which obviously can be critical. And if you've got less armor and there's more chance of being hit by a critical, that can, like I say,
you're most likely to get it.
Yeah, of course. So that's quite forward, and then this makes a lot of the things above and the blurb more understandable. Its ultimate skill. So the Commando places a tripod and mounts the minigun on the ground. The damage they deal is increased. Their abilities are improved. So where we saw the improved mechanic, that's what it means. This is for this specifically, and they have an increased range. Whilst the minigun is fixed on a tripod, the Commando can't. There's not a slow reduction. So when it's saying they're not as mobile, this is what it means, because they literally kind of dig in.
Stuck into the ground.
Yeah, so, and a recast basically uninstalls the tripod and makes you more mobile again. Very quick cast, considering 0.3. But the damage increase is 20%. The range can be up to 4 meters. And then when you tie into the fact that you're already having max armor reduction, 50% crit chance, enemies can be rooted, and there's a crit strike chance of 10%. You can start to see why they say in a short amount of time you can do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you're looking at, you're hitting 3, 4, 5, because there's nothing stopping you casting that for 3 times whilst you're in place.
Yeah, I wonder what the health numbers are going to be like on some of these big bosses and stuff like that in the raids, because when you're hitting these numbers, it's going to, these battles
it's going to be
quite a while. Like,
there's going to be, there is, if going off any kind of MMO alone, and I know they're not focusing on just making the bosses bullet sponges, i.e., we'll just give them a lot of health so they just have to keep hitting it for a bit, because that's how a lot of classic MMO bosses were built. So you'd have a boss with maybe 10,000 health, but the main boss had 50,000. So really, the reason why the battle was longer, they had more health. Whereas they've talked about in some of the videos that they're going to be doing there's going to be puzzle mechanics, and the boss will be in different stages. So whilst his health might not just be a big pool, there might be a bit where it's not safe to plant your gun down and churn out all that damage, because the floor might disappear from underneath you, or like ads come in. It keeps you engaged, and I think. But yeah, I do think on the whole, I think some of these encounters, I wouldn't be surprised if we see kind of 15, 20 minute plus boss encounters where you're really on the, especially at the higher, higher end of the like the raids and the bosses and stuff, because they've said they want people to be rewarded, and some of the stuff's really hard to get. So I'd imagine I wouldn't be surprised where actually this 20% increase is very much needed if you're even going to remotely succeed, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, very cool. I like the idea that you can move about with a gun. But if you've got a good tank and they've got the taunts, you're going to be safer planting your R skill and getting that damage input, because you're not the focus of the brunt of the enemy, are you? So that's pretty cool. So the Commando,
That's it.
a nice little minigun surprise. Cool. And finally, we're on the last class, which is the class that is what grabbed me about this, is the Shaman class. So they are another melee class coming from a kindred of orcs who can talk to animal spirits and command the elements. They wield different types of fist weapons to devastating effects. Their base attacks will mark the enemies, and the mark can empower Shaman's other abilities.
This is already speaking to me. This sounds very cool.
Just you wait,
I'm
my
excited by
friends.
this.
So their special ability, there's not much here, but they make up for it, don't you worry.
Yeah.
So base attacks grant a stack up to 5 times. Each stack increases attack speed by 5%. At max stacks, the next basic attack deals bonus magic damage and marks the enemy, empowering the Shaman's abilities. So where it says deals bonus magic damage, this could be up to 140 at potential max level on top of whatever the skills are as well. So so it gains a stack. Stacking makes you hit quicker, so then you get in your stacks quicker by hitting. It kind of becomes like a rolling ball of death at that point. And the skills for this are as follows. So the first attack, again, is a way to get in to initiate the battle, I guess, in some ways.
Yeah.
0.3 cast, 5 meter range. See, there's some damage, some armor resistance, and some mana costs. And it is as follows. So the Shaman leaps towards a target and deals physical damage. The next 4 basic attacks debuff the enemy, reducing their armor and magic resistance for 6 seconds. This stacks up to 4 times. So you can already see there's a theme with the Shaman of building, getting that ball rolling. And the more you roll it, the better it becomes. So
that's it.
So you've got a debuff again. We see another debuff again. Armor and magic resistance. So if you've got the Commando debuff, the Legionary debuffing and rooting them, and then these guys removing that armor further, basically. You could have some interesting things. And then when we talked about the mark as well, it reduces the enemy's movement speed by 50%. So that's half. So that's quite a substantial debuff. And the thing that's interesting about this is it's just whilst they're marked. So once you've marked someone, this isn't it decreases it for 2 seconds. It's whilst, if you focus on the enemy, they're just going to stay at minus 50% movement speed.
That's so good as well, isn't it? For when you're working with your party and you're just like, right, focus him, you focus him, everyone jumps on him. He's already slower and you're just instantly taking him out.
Yeah, cool. And the flip side of that is if you need to keep someone else out, there's nothing stopping a Shaman because they're pulling their armor off and their magic resistance. So say you've got the third person, a Shaman could quite possibly keep them out of the way whilst everyone else focuses on them, another threat as well. So that there is kind of a bit of it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
So that's just them jumping in.
First one.
So the next one is an instant cast. There's an increased attack speed, increased movement speed, mana cost, and a slow cooldown. The Shaman increases their summoned wolf.
Summoned wolf.
Attack speed and movement speed.
So cool.
This is just kind of, as the picture kind of depicts, there's a bit of like a wolf howl. It's a bit
You've got to think as well with this that you're going to be able to customize that wolf that you summon.
Yes.
You've got to, haven't you? You've got to be. Not everyone's going to be summoning the wolf. There's got to be skins.
Paid cosmetics.
Yeah.
They've talked about all the things in the store are going to be cosmetics.
Yeah.
It'd just be cool to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Which
I,
is
I
great.
think
It
there will
makes it
be.
more your own, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think there will be. I would imagine there will be some different
Yeah.
skins and such for it. So fingers crossed for that. So that's just basically a straight buff. Just more attack speed, more movement speed, off you pop. So nice and simple one. That the E is a magic spell. So 0.8 of a second cast, decent damage. Not much of a cooldown, only 5 seconds. The shaman hits a target with a lightning bolt that bounces to 3 times to nearby enemies, dealing magic damage. A marked enemy is stunned for 2 seconds. So whilst you're only casting it at one person, it bounces to 3 nearby enemies as well.
Yeah.
Probably explains why it's only 150, because obviously read that out 4 times.
People.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But stunning them as well. I mean, that'll be a nice little, if you just happen to cast when 2 or 3 of them are also casting spells and you stun them inadvertently, that'll be quite a cool little benefit to casting a bit of chain lightning.
That's it.
So that'll be
Sith-like, very Sith-like. Senator Palpatine.
Unlimited power. And then the R skill, which obviously is the one,
Summons
is the one,
wolf.
the wolf, to fight for the shaman. Wolf's health, armor, and magic resistance is 50% of the shaman's attributes. So half as strong as your little buddy.
Yeah.
Your wolf deals physical damage, so it's not, even though it's a summoned thing, it's a physical damage.
Yeah.
When the summon wolf dies, the shaman suffers 20% of their maximum health. So I guess it's kind of linked. There's a spiritual bond.
So that's the benefit of like not just summoning it and letting it do its own thing. It's sort of like summon it and work with it.
Work with it,
you can keep it alive, and it'll keep, it keeps you alive.
Yeah. And then if that does happen, the ability goes on cooldown. So the recast of it, targeting an enemy makes the wolf bite the target, dealing bonus magic damage every 4th basic attack. The wolf bites a marked enemy. The wolf restores the shaman's health in an amount equal to the damage dealt and taunts the enemy, forcing them to attack the wolf.
Oh, that's cool. So it's a bit of a leech seed again, isn't it? Like,
yeah, so it's it heals you, which is good, and it also takes the focus off you. Kind of, they are there. They're your loyal companion. Targeting the shaman makes the wolf come back to the shaman. So obviously, if he's running off to an enemy, you can just make it call back, basically. So you've got a bit of command over it. And targeting the wolf makes the shaman sacrifice a potion of their own health to the wolf. So if the wolf has taunted and even though it's giving you health, there's nothing stopping you sacrificing. There's a lot of symbiosis. They both need each other to live. And holding ability key will call off the wolf. So if it's doing something you don't want it to, you can hold R and it'll heal. It'll stay. But yeah, cast time's very quick. Recast time, so like controlling the wolf, it's very simple. Bite damage is reasonable. It's doing that every second or so. It does cost a bit of mana. So initially, it's a big summon that. I mean, I don't know how big the mana pool's going to be, but 250. But to move it, it's only going to cost 10 and command it where you want.
Right.
That's not too bad.
No.
Like the call off is 5 seconds. So
the cooldown on the first. So the cooldown goes down on the recast. Is that right?
So when it dies, the cooldown and it triggers. And if the call off is basically unsummoning it as well, which could it could actually mean that, thinking about it, then it would trigger the cooldown as well. Because I guess there'd be no reason to have it out if you're not in battle. If you win the battle, you probably just want to recall it anyway, because don't need it at that stage.
Very
So
cool
yeah,
class, that.
very cool. So I like
Yeah.
it. I like the synergy of having a NPC, so a non-player entity using. You're
Yeah.
not not only have you got your party and your allies, you've got this little dude that is moving. So unlike turrets are obviously something, but can't move them about, and they've got no soul.
Becomes a real focus for other characters, that doesn't it, on the other team, or
Yeah, well that's the thing. Imagine if you've got a legionary who's got a taunt, but then you've also got a shaman who also has a taunt in a offhand kind of way, so not the main focus. But whilst you've got your skills casted, and the longer you're left untouched, like we were saying before, you're stacking up, you're getting faster attacks, you're doing more damage. If they're focused to kill your wolf, they're not killing you. You become like a rolling ball of shamanic elemental energy.
That's it.
So I'm all about it. Yeah. So they're the three.
Very cool.
Very cool. I don't think it's probably drawn you, but I'm sure the Shaman's maybe piqued your interest.
That last one does, yeah. The Shaman definitely piqued my interest. But yeah, it's one of them. I'd probably have to see it in action to know if it's going to be the one I want. I'm still holding out for some sort of wizardy type character that I can make my Gandalf from. But
yeah, I mean, I've still got 3 more of this that we know of, this series that we're doing. So, who knows?
Next episode.
Next episode. You want to see what the next episode is?
Let's have a look.
So we've got the bomber.
Oh, that'll be a fun one. Another one that the rest of these I've not seen before, not looked into previously.
Yeah. So these are the 3. We've got the bomber, the champion, and the paladin. So we'll be on the bomber next. I've not properly looked into this one either. So next episode's going to be together. It'll be a full discovery. But so that's
Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed it, please give us a like and a subscribe. There'll be, like we said, there'll be 3 more episodes in this series, and then we'll carry on with it when new characters are added and heroes come out. If you've only seen this and you haven't seen our other content, we do a podcast where we're just talking about random Corepunk stuff, and we've done a couple of episodes there now, so check that out on the channel as well. Cheers for watching.
Like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, Patreon, all the good stuff.
Until next time, bye-bye.